Hello, everyone, and good day, good morning, good evening to all of you. This is A Course in Miracles 365 Awakening to Love, and I'm your host, Tomas Garza. This is a live stream that airs about 6 days a week here. I take Sundays off typically, but this is on Enlightened World Network, and we stream this to several platforms daily. Now, we're having some technical difficulties today. So what I want to do is just record this short video for you and also for all of you tuning in here on YouTube. Thank you for subscribing to this channel and thank you for tuning in. So this is very, very beautiful and important to me that I'm able to put this message out there for all of you to reach you. Okay. So where we are in our journey here today is we're on lesson 166 in the workbook for students. I am entrusted with the gifts of God. What else? Right? I am entrusted with the gifts of God. So in the very first sentence in the commentary for today, Jesus simply comes right out and states that all things are given us. All things, limitlessness, peace, happiness, joy, abundance, love. Keep going with that list of what we consider positive attributes and positive things and experiences. All of that has been given us and more beyond any scale that we can hear in our daily lives, even imagine. If you've had glimpses of this experience, then you'll know what I mean. We've been given all things, and we run around here in the world distracted, asleep, as the Course puts it, as Buddhism puts it, as spirituality puts it. I mean, that's why we use, in spiritual terms, the word awakening or enlightenment. Right? Call it whatever you want. We're asleep when we side with the ego, when we choose fear. When we choose love, on the other hand, we're awake and alive, energized. So our task, our responsibility here in the world is to choose love right now, in the present moment, again and again and again, as many times as we can and must. This is how you do it. So because we have a tendency to become carried away and distracted. By the way, this was the case before the internet, wasn't it? Yeah, most of you that are my age or older will certainly remember this. I'm only just still in my 40s, by the way. I guess you were wondering. So there have always been a myriad of distractions in the world. There's always been just a host of things clamoring for our attention. And when we're carried away in that, we get carried away with thoughts about the past, with thoughts about the future, and we're anywhere other than the present moment, which we discover on the path is quite literally all that is. So this is something that I've said quite a bit that's really deeply resonant with me, apparently, yeah, on this live stream. I've said it several times this week. That is, if something is true and real right now, because we only have right now, there is only right now. If something is true right now, it's always true. Because it's always right now. If something is unreal, if it's false, if it is an illusion right now, then it's an illusion always. This is one of the ways that you could see and explain the summary of A Course in Miracles. I mean, in the very introduction to the text, the Course says it can be summed up very succinctly, and it's very succinct and very profound. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Nothing real can be threatened. If it's real, it's always real. Therefore, it's not subject to attack or threat of any kind. Nothing unreal exists. So really taking this to heart and applying it so that we may experience it, because spirituality is all about experience. This is how we discover the truth of who we really are. And it's more of an uncovering, an unearthing, or an unveiling, if you will, of this truth, which has never gone anywhere. None of us is broken. You are not broken. You could deny this truth. And that's what happens to all of us, by the way, when we run off and see ourselves as separate, when we listen to the voice of fear, in other words, the ego, a mistaken belief. It's just a mistake to be set aside. It's not an opponent, it's a mistake. The correction is here. So we're running around having invented all of our own suffering ourselves, including the world, bodies, everything. This is not the will of God. If you're doing the verbal math here, which I encourage always, God did not make the world. God didn't make the world. Now, I've read the creation story in Genesis, in the Bible. I was raised in a couple of different, rather fundamentalist Christian traditions in the United States. I know a number of you were raised in similar traditions everywhere in the world that insisted that their interpretation of something that may or may not, if we're being honest, have been said thousands of years ago, was the so-called gospel truth, the only truth, and that a certain building had a monopoly on said truth. Well, no one owns truth. It's not capable of being owned or possessed. It simply is. This world in which we run around dazed and confused and suffer is not the will of God. As always, I invite you to read the commentary here for today's idea, lesson 166. Because when we take this to heart and accept it, what we do is very profound and it's very uplifting. It's very freeing. We take responsibility for our own experience. Spirituality is all about this. Do I sound like a social worker or a counselor or a therapist, maybe? I am a spiritual coach, so I guess they all sort of overlap and interplay, don't they? We take responsibility for our own experience. Spirituality is all about that. So if you're in therapy, your therapist is getting a little dose of spirituality on there. We take responsibility. What does this mean? Well, it's actually quite freeing. It's not onerous. It's not a burden to be run away from or feared. It is beautifully uplifting and liberating because we get to choose. Right now, we can choose love over fear. We can choose God over the ego. You get to choose. This free will has never been taken from you and never will be. So what do we do? Well, you continue to show up and follow your particular spiritual practice, whatever that is, whatever that consists of. And if you're searching, keep searching, because you will find something that resonates with you. Now, my question for those of you that find yourself in that position is, have you decided to find something? Because this can be A search, a mad search, a distracted search can be a form of putting off the inevitable, which is really all we can do. The inevitable, full awakening, realizing the truth of who you really are. Because you're watching this, you're already on that path. I think that you would do well to read the commentary for lesson 166 here today, because in this, Jesus talks about having arrived at a point where we doubt what the world and our five senses, five physical senses, show us. And what we would consider a sixth, possibly, right, our intuition, is now talking to us, isn't it, very loudly. And the message is, this is not so. There's something else behind all of this. There's something on the other side of this, so to speak. This is not who I am. This is not what life is about at all. There's more to it than this. You've reached that point. And if you hadn't, you would not be interested in this. You'd be watching something else. I can promise you that. So because you're watching this, I want to just invite you to take heart. You've reached a point where you're doing some deep level questioning. So what happens when you ask deep level questions? You get deep level answers. What do we do at this point? Well, when we accept that this world is not the will of God, it's tremendously freeing. Each and every one of us is love. We're not in love. I mean, you might be in what we call romantic love here in the world. You might not. If you are, great. If you're not, doesn't matter. We actually are love with a capital L. God is love. It is completely abstract. And how do we recognize that we have it, that we are this? We extend it. In other words, we share. We give it away. It says in many different places in A Course in Miracles, really throughout the text, throughout the workbook, this is how we know that we're entrusted with the gifts of God. This is how we know who we really are, is we extend ourselves. We extend love. We get it back. It's that giving and receiving, which are equal, by the way. It's the same thing. When we receive it back, we know, don't we? We recognize that this is who we are. We have these gifts. We're entrusted with these gifts. And in truth, we've never lost these gifts. We've chosen simply to ignore them. We can choose differently right now. We can choose to allow them. We can choose to accept them, and then we can choose to give them away so that what's given away is strengthened, and also others will recognize themselves in you by your act of giving. It is beautiful. It's what we're here to do. Each and every one of us is entrusted with the gifts of God. Very well. All right. Thank you so much. And I invite you, as always, to tune in to the show, which airs 6 days a week on Enlightened World Network's Facebook page. Again, we've had some technical difficulties here today. However, no matter, there's always a plan B with modern technology. So thank you all for subscribing and again, tuning in. And please feel welcome, by the way, to reach out to me directly with any questions. I am on Facebook as Tomas Garza. So Facebook Messenger is a beautiful way to reach me, perhaps the quickest because I'm on it more often during the day and check it more often. Also, you can reach me via email. Tomas, Tomas, at tomasgarza.com. I typically only check email once a day. So if this is something that can't wait, hit me up on Messenger. Otherwise, feel welcome to email me any questions or comments that you may have. Also, please know that I have begun to offer my introductory course. It's called Awakening to Love, an Introduction to A Course in Miracles. That is available right now online. I'm offering a series of 8 videos that explain the course in some really, really wonderful detail and introductory detail. It talks about concepts, the basic philosophy and structure of the course, and concepts such as forgiveness and miracles themselves. Yeah, beautiful stuff here. That is appropriate, by the way, for beginners and seasoned vets as well. Right? Doesn't matter how long you've been studying this, we always meet the material with new eyes every single time. This is my experience. It's like reading a novel again and again and again. We always learn or pick up on something else. It's a gift that literally keeps giving. So I'm also offering with this a free 30-minute consultation, a private session, confidential private session with me. I'm also a spiritual coach and mentor and guide. And there is a Zoom group Q&A too. So an opportunity to ask questions about this material. Now, this is available at tomasgarza.thinkific.com. It's called Awakening to Love with Tomas. I'm putting up new courses and designing new courses all of the time. There's going to be a course on basic meditation up there in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. You can also find the links and the buttons on my website, tomasgarza.com. So if you're interested in a deeper dive to the introductory material in this course, some foundations about what it's all about, and some suggestions for practice as well, then definitely please go ahead and check that out. And I thank you, as always, for tuning in here today. It's always fun for me when technology doesn't work the way it's supposed to, and we do things a different way. I find my presentation is different, and that's the case today, as it always is. And we may reach different people. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again here very, very soon. Have a great day.